Hey everyone, so I'm back for an update today. I know I said I was going to update when my hysteroscopy appointment everything was, but the appointment came up really fast and I was busy with work and so I didn't, and I'm really sorry, but I have a lot to update you guys on today. I'm going to try to make it fast, mostly because my internet is slow to upload and it takes me forever to upload a long video, so I'm just going to get right to it. Today at 2 o'clock I had an appointment for my antral follicle count, office hysteroscopy, and mock transfer. I think that's everything they did to me today. So anyways, I Googled it ahead of time, and let me tell you guys, I was having a panic attack. If you are gonna have a hysteroscopy, do not Google image it. Don't look it up. Just don't do anything. Just go to your appointment and try to stay relaxed. So I, of course, Googled. Big mistake. So I saw the big rigid hysteroscopies that are, like hard metal long tubes that, get shoved up your cervix, obviously, and I was freaking out. Honestly, I was genuinely having a panic attack. Before I went in there today, I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna shove this big metal thing with no local, no Valium, no anesthesia of any kind, nothing. Just take 800 motion for you show up, right? So I'm already freaking out. My bladder fills really quick and I had to have a full bladder for both. So I started drinking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My appointment's at 2. So I drank 1.5 bottles of water, which is less than what they tell you, but knowing my bladder, I was like, I'm gonna be ready to explode. So I get there, they check me in, I go to the room and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and then they come in, like I already have to pee really bad. And they come in and the nurse talks to me and then I get undressed and then the fellow comes in and consents me for the procedure and then they leave and my bladder starts cramping like crazy. Like I am beyond the point of I have to pee. I'm at the point of I'm literally gonna pee my pants if they don't get in here like right now. And my husband was like making fun of me kind of because he was in there, which was really nice, and he was like, oh, just don't think about it. I'm like, dude, I don't think you understand. My bladder is gonna explode. So I was literally gonna get up and like empty my bladder a tiny bit. And then they came back in and explained everything to me, and they had a flexible hysteroscopy, like hysteroscope or whatever you wanna call it. So that made me feel a lot better to begin with. And, they told me they're like, it's gonna be uncomfortable, you're gonna cramp, blah, blah, blah. Everything I was expecting. But yeah, so the attending was overseeing the fellow who was doing the procedure, and he immediately, because he did the external ultrasound, they did the mock transfer first, and he looked at my abdomen and he was like, oh my god, he's like, I can tell right now your bladder's about to explode. He's like, you're so skinny, I can see it. Your bladder's way beyond distended. So he like showed my husband and me and the doctor did everything that we're doing, which was really nice. And they were like, oh, do you see this white thing here? And I thought he was talking about my uterine lining because I didn't even feel the catheter going. And they're like, oh, that's the catheter that we're going to use for the transfer. And they were like, blah, 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 everything's great, your cervix is nice and straight, open, etc. Like, it was kind of like a NASCAR pit stop because the attending was in there, the fellow was in there, and the nurse was in there, and they were all doing things to me. And all I could focus on was trying not to pee on these people, honestly, because how embarrassing would that be? So yeah, the mock transfer was amazing, you guys. Like, when I had my saline sono, it felt like a lightning bolt went up through my cervix, like someone stabbed me through my vagina. It hurt so bad. And I don't know if it was just my cervix being tender at the time or the inexperience of the person who did it, because it was my OB and I'm sure they don't do these every day, but I literally did not even feel this catheter going at all. It was awesome. And the doctor was joking around with me, the attending. He was like, yeah, he's like, you can do with a lot less water for your actual transfer day. He's like, your bladder actually looks like it has been full, and that was about 2:45 at that time. He's like, your bladder would have been plenty full like an hour ago. And I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Then I looked at my husband, I was like, see, I wasn't really being a big baby, like it really is about to blow up. So they pulled the catheter out, that was great, and they did the hysteroscopy, which I was the most nervous about. but they were great. Like, she was like, okay, I'm gonna start. And I got to watch it on the screen, which was so cool. I got to see the inside of my uterus, which I know is freakishly weird that I like that stuff, but I don't know. I just like it. So yeah, like, she went in there. I didn't feel anything as it was going through my cervix. They didn't have to dilate my cervix. The only thing I felt when they were in there was like this, it wasn't cramping. It was like this crazy pressure. I'm trying to find the word to describe it. It was uncomfortable, lots of pressure. They showed me my fallopian tube openings. Everything was perfectly clear. My uterus looked great. So yeah, it was not even painful at all, you guys. I cannot even describe to you the relief I felt. I don't know, I just really liked this office. They were so good. And then they tried next to do my antral follicle count, and they put the transvaginal ultrasound probe in, and they were like, oh yeah, your bladder's taking up the whole screen. Like, you have to pee. We can't even get this done with you like this. So thank God I got up and peed, came back. She did the count. I had 21, I think, 20 or 21 total follicles, which is good because I've been on birth control for months. So yeah, that was really, really good. And I'm trying to think of what else happened. My husband asked the doctor about his semen analysis varying so much, and they were like, yeah, you don't go from 0% morphology to 10% morphology. You have a percentage of variance, but that type of variance is crazy. So basically they told us that the other lab, in their very kind professional way, sucked, and that his sperm should have never been graded that way in the first place. Unless you've had some sort of surgical intervention, you don't see that much of a change. My AMH level went from 5.5 to 3 something, the mid 3.5 or something like that. And I was a little concerned about that, and I talked to him about it, like, am I running out of eggs? Like, what's going on? And he kind of like laughed at me, you know, nicely, not like rude or anything. And he was like, no, it's okay. It's still normal. He's like, you have a normal variance. You don't have anything to be concerned about at all at this point. He's like, once it goes really low, then it tends to stay low. So I'm hoping that he's right and that my AMH isn't making a 2-point drop like every year, because mine was drawn originally a year and a half ago and it was 5.5. So yeah, we had a really great day today. I was fully expecting still to have a late February or March IVF cycle, and they were like, let me go get the IVF nurse and we'll see when we can fit you in. We waited for probably 10 more minutes, and then she came in, and she was super nice too. Like, you guys, I haven't met a person in this office who wasn't extremely compassionate and kind, but yet honest with you about everything that's going on. They were just great. Oh, and I forgot to say, when they were doing my antral follicle count, she found a fibroid. It wasn't inside my uterus, obviously, because they just did the hysteroscopy and it was completely clear. It's growing on the outside of my uterus, and it's about 1 centimeter. And they said not to worry about it at all. Just something that they'll keep an eye on over the years, but since it's not inside, they kept calling it my cavity. Whatever, like, gross. Don't refer to my uterus as a cavity. But that it shouldn't cause us any problems at all. So that was good. But it kind of wigged me out, like, how many ultrasounds did I have before at this other clinic and no one ever said anything about it? Whatever. Anyways, so the nurse came in. Sorry, I got a little off track. And she was like, okay, well, let's see what's going on. Like, when did you start your birth control? When are you due for another cycle? And she pulled up their calendar and she was like, well, you know, like, let me go talk to the other nurse who, like, makes the calendars and plans everything, and let's see what we can do. So she left and came back, and I told my husband, I was like, no way they're gonna be able to squeeze us in. Like, let's just not even get our hopes up. And she came back and she was like, so, and she was kind of being a little like somber, and I was like, okay, she's gonna tell us we have to wait a month or two, you know, before we can start our cycle. No big deal. She is like, how would you feel about starting sooner? And I'm like, is this a bad thing? Like, do people complain about starting sooner? Because she's like, do you have anything coming up? Like, blah, blah, blah. She was just very accommodating and nice. And we were like, no. And I told her, I said, we haven't had a medicated cycle since August. Like, we are ready to get going. And she kind of laughed. She's like, that's great. So yeah, you guys, like, when my cycle starts, we are going to start our IVF cycle. Like, can you believe this? How long I have been waiting and all of these delays, and it's finally going to get started. I'm just so beyond thrilled. So they're going to call me Monday or Tuesday of next week, because I guess they meet on Mondays, like all the attendings get together and they talk about all their patients and, like, you know, like their diagnoses and like what kind of protocols the patient should be on. And they all kind of share their opinions on what should happen, which I think is pretty great. You know, like the nurses are there and they're like this big team working together, like with everybody's different ideas of what would be best for the patients. Like, I just think that's really cool. You know, it's not very common to find that kind of a practice. So yeah, like they're gonna meet, they're gonna decide my protocol, and they said I might start Lupron on the 15th, depending on what protocol they give me. They're not sure yet. So yeah, they're gonna order my meds next week. Like, when they figure out the calendar, they're gonna send me a calendar, and then we have medication teaching next week, Wednesday at 9 a.m., I think. So they're gonna teach my husband like how to give the IM progesterone and oil injections for after egg retrieval, and they're gonna teach me how to mix up the Brevell and everything, which I'm sure, and the Menopur and stuff, which I'm sure I'll figure out. But yeah, we're just really excited, and things are happening finally, and hopefully we will have a baby this year, you guys. Like, I'm just really grateful and excited, but I'm trying to stay grounded. Like, I know it's 50% chance it will work, 50% chance it won't work, but you can't help but get excited, you know? So that's what's going on, and I will let you guys know, like, about my calendar, the medication protocol I get, and then also what happens at that medication teaching appointment. So it should be kind of funny to watch my husband learn how to give an IM injection, because he's going to be clueless and he's kind of a spaz, so I have a feeling I'm going to get a kick out of it, but it might freak me out a little bit because he's like a big bumbling bear, and I'm going to have this big bumbling bear attacking my butt with a needle. So we'll see how all this goes, but I just wanted to share this with you guys, and hopefully we all have a great 2015, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye, girls. Science and progress, the not speak is loud.